There's two different ways to install this system. One is on top of the subfloor, and one is recessed into the subfloor by lowering the floor joist. And I'll show y'all how all of that happens, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about on top of the subfloor first. You will be cutting the plumbing flush with the top of your subfloor. So if it's just a regular standard subfloor, cut it flush with air. If you're gonna be recessing the subfloor, recess it, then cut it flush with the top of the subfloor. You can cut these pans to fit any shape or size once you have them. Just remember that if the pan is too big and you cut too much off, you're going to get into the slope of the pan. So you want to try to order it as close to the size as you can. For example, if it's a 48-inch by 48-inch pan and they had a 46-inch shower, you can cut those 2 inches off and not really see much of a difference. But if you ordered a 60-inch shower, now you're cutting almost a foot off, so you're getting into that slope of the pan, so it's going to have like a smiley face effect to it. So you want to try to avoid that. This is our notch. Our notch is a 1/4 inch deep and a 1/2 inch wide. The reason it's a 1/2 inch wide is because most sheetrock in homes is going to measure out to a 1/2 inch. And then recutting the notch out, you can notch it out with a saw, you can notch it out with that multi-tool. Yeah. There's a bunch of different options you can use. You can also use the razor knife. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you cut this out a 1/2 inch wide and a 1/4 inch deep. All right, so the next step, I've got my brass drain. What we're gonna do is you're gonna take that sealant and you're gonna run a bead of sealant all the way around. It's kind of hard to do holding all this stuff up. Now we've got our brass drain with a bead of sealant ran all the way around it. You're gonna take that, you're gonna pull from the back side, grabbing here and pulling in. But on the front half, you'll see it pull in and kind of squirt out. Then I give it just a slightest twist, making sure I have that full ring of sealant embedded all the way around. You can use your finger or the tool. Just remember, when it gets on your clothes, it doesn't come off. So you're gonna clean everything off, giving you a nice, clean seal. You see some squirted out there? That's gonna happen too.
But you want that, right? You want
you want all that extra to fill in everything that it can possibly find.
Right.
So you're gonna have 2 gaskets that come with it. The first one's gonna be a rubber gasket, and the second one's just a piece of cardboard gasket material, okay? You're gonna apply the rubber gasket first, and that's gonna make a waterproof seal there. This goes on second to protect that seal, okay? And then you have this locking nut that's gonna be the back side of everything. So you're gonna put this on, tighten it up. You're gonna get it pretty snug in there, okay? You don't want it flopping around at all. Just really get it in there. So now you're gonna back butter it.
And you're back buttering with the thin set as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So you're gonna run your thin set with the flat side of the trowel. The reason you don't put notches here and there is because if you happen to set it the wrong direction, you just crossed your notches and you filled the whole area with a void of air.
Okay.
So
do you mean with the trowel?
The trowel, yeah.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
where your trowel marks, you want one set of trowel marks and a set of flat.
Okay.
That way when you press down on it, all that air gets smushed out. All right, so the next step, we've got it all thin setted down here. We've got it back buttered. I'm gonna come back over here to this brass drain and I'm gonna check it. And I'm probably gonna get about a 1/4 inch more of a turn in there just by letting it sit for a minute. It's just a good rule of thumb, double check yourself. For the first part, we're just gonna set it on top here, acting like it's on top of a standard subfloor. There's gonna be a minimum notch trowel that you'll have, which is 3/8 by 3/8. We recommend 3/8 by 1/2, but the lowest you can go is 3/8 by 3/8. If you wanted to go all the way up to 3/4 by 3/4, be our guest in this application. So if you do that in the lowered subfloor, that extra buildup of thin set underneath there is going to raise that floor up too high. So in a recessed area, we really recommend the 3/8 by 3/8 to keep you at that correct profile. I'm going to go into it a little more in just a second when we actually put it in here, but at first we're just letting you know you back butter the pan, trowel the floor, and that's going to be treated just like a piece of large format tile. Okay, you're going to set that down. You're going to come back, walk over the top of it, and push all your air out. This is going to be your curb. It has a notch, and the pan has a notch down in it. The first step is you're going to take your sealant and you're going to fill this notch in. You're going to take some more thin set using the same size trowel that you already installed this with. You're going to fill in this area of the wood with your thin set, and you're going to take with the flat side of the trowel and you're going to skim the back side of this curb. You're going to set the curb into the sealant, and then it's also going to be setting into the thin set, creating two bonds and some structural stability with the thin set. If you want, you can take some tile or bags of thin set, press them up against here so it can't walk away until that stuff has time to set up. Okay. The next step after you would do this, you're going to have some sealant squirt out of this back side on the inside of the shower. Okay. You want to see that. Okay. You want to see some of it squirt out. When you do, you take the corner tool and you're going to drag that across there just to smooth it out just a little bit. At that point, we have some alkaline resistant mesh tape. You're going to cut that to fit, and you're going to apply that in that corner, letting some overlap on each side, onto the pan and onto the wall, or curb in this situation. And then, if you need to, you're going to add a little more sealant and run your corner bead. So that is basically your standard application on a curb, okay? All right, now we're going to talk about doing a recessed subfloor with this system. So what they'll do is they'll measure out for their pan. They're going to take and just basically lay your pan down. You're going to give yourself an 1/8 inch on all four sides, and you're going to cut that out. Why is there an 1/8 of an inch bigger than my pan? In case these are bowed and crooked.
An 1/8 inch margin for error, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're going to come in, you're going to cut that out. You're going to take that piece of 3/4 inch plywood that's already been put down there. You're going to save that. You don't want to throw that away because you're going to reuse it in a minute. I'll just pull this one up to show y'all. Okay, take some 2x4s, sister them up to the studs. Now I know it's 3/4 of an inch. Same thing on that side. Then you're going to screw them in to the existing floor joists that are down there. Another thing you can do is actually make a full square box. Okay, stick that underneath there. That way you have support on all four corners. Once you do that, you're going to run a bead of sealant on top of your 2x4. You'll take this and you'll drop it back into place. Once you drop it into place, you'll come back and you'll screw it down. And now your subfloor's dropped 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so our pan is 1 inch thick, right? So we've dropped it 3/4. That's because you have to waterproof on the exterior of the shower also. We'll show that in a minute. So the next step, we've got it prepped. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in, I'm going to wet out the area, key in my thin set, trowel everything in using directional troweling, you know, only pulling your trowel marks in one direction. So now that we've got everything cut, fair warning, this one is a little tight. I would have liked to have a little bit more of a buffer there, but I kind of cut it tight. So you're going to come in, you're going to set it into the back, and you're going to drop it in, pressing it into place. After that, you're going to come in, you're going to walk around, you're going to push out all of that air, and you're going to have this rubber seal. This rubber seal goes down into that drain, and in it, you have a bevel sitting here right on the top. That bevel is going to stay on the top of the pipe. The bottom of that brass drain has a slight bevel to it also. So it's going to tighten up here, and then I'm going to have a castle nut that goes on the top that I'm fixing to grab. It has a matching bevel on the bottom side of it. So when those two compress down, it has nowhere to go but to tighten up and get a little fatter. So it squeezes onto that pipe. making a good solid compression seal. Okay, this is your castle nut, and in there is that same matching bevel that would fall right there to make its compression. Okay, so we're just going to drop this one in, showing you kind of how it would look. Also, when you get the package, they're going to have a tightening tool. It's got a slot for a flathead. If you happen to drop this down in the pipe, you've lost 3 hours of work trying to chase it back out of there. A solution to that is to take and just tape it off onto your flathead. So then the castle nut's going to come in here. You're going to drop it into place. You're going to tighten that up. We know this thing isn't locked into place, so we know I'm not really going to be able to torque it in, but use your imagination on that one. We're just going to come in and we're going to tighten everything up. Since it's not sealed all the way and we don't have it locked, it's moving around a little bit. But that's how you would tighten it up. You're just going to torque that down until it compresses that seal down, and it makes that nice tight seal so nothing can move. Now, don't put some kind of cream on there because it's hard to get it to fall down into that place. Just use soapy water and that rubber seal will slide over that pipe.